So you want to learn how to acquire real estate, but you have poor credit and no money. I'm going to tell you how to do that today. Oftentimes you'll hear in the marketplace that you can buy houses or own real estate with no money required. So I'm going to teach you one way. There's a couple ways, but I'm going to teach you one way that you can do that today. As a real estate investor, I'm always looking for ways to scale my portfolio. And so I may not have the cash at that moment to be able to scale or purchase a property or opportunity that presents itself. So you have to think about some creative ways to kind of get the deal done, to move in the area where you want to move. So say there's a property opportunity out there, and that owner is selling a property for $100,000. And so you really want this property, but you don't have the cash available. You don't have a lender that will lend to you. You can go to this owner and ask if they would be willing to do owner financing. The cool thing about owner financing is typically they're not going to check your credit. Typically, they're not going to ask to see your bank statements or income or anything like that. And so most of the times the owners are going to just kind of work directly with you and kind of take your word. Obviously, there's going to be a contract in place to protect both sides of the transaction. So in that example, the owner has a home that they're trying to sell for $100,000. And oftentimes these are the properties that are maybe a little bit more distressed. The owner wants $100,000, but the value of the home may be more like $80,000. And so you would be willing to give them the full $100,000 for doing this owner financing method. So the owner gets their full $100,000, and then you get the property with no money and no credit check. So in that example, the $100,000, you're going to kind of have to do a little math here to see what works out best for you. So say you do the math, $100,000, and you feel like you can pay the $100,000 back over 5 years. Now, this is a property that you're probably not going to live in. This is a rental property. So you're going to have a tenant that you're going to place into the property. And so you want the tenant's rent that is being collected on a monthly basis to cover the payment that you're going to owe to the owner on a monthly basis. So when the math comes in, it's just making sure that when you take the $100,000, we're dividing it over, a 5-year period monthly. That's about $1,600 a month to make them whole, make the seller whole at the end of the 5-year period. So $1,600 a month. So when you go out to rent this property, you want to make sure that, maybe you can at least collect $2,000 for rent on this property per month. So that way you can pay the owner their portion of it. You can have enough money to cover any taxes or anything on the property. And there's a little bit of wiggle room. Now, for that 5-year period, you may not be making a net profit on it, but at the end of the 5 years, you will own a home free and clear that you didn't pay anything for. The tenant paid the owner for you, and now you can acquire this property. You always want to make sure that you have a contract in place. You're going to work with an attorney, maybe even work with your accountant, but work with an attorney to draft the contract so that way the seller cannot sell this from underneath you. You're also going to record a lien on the property. That way, if the owner were to try to sell, this lien would pop up and they would have to come see you first before title could transfer on the property. So this is just one way you can absolutely own a property with bad credit and no money using this creative financing of owner financing for you to acquire the property. This is being done by so many people. I've personally have done this situation and acquired properties from owners to the point where we purchased a property, we put a tenant in it, we sold the property, made a profit. The new owner was having trouble with the tenant in there. We bought the property back to then sell it again. And so this is definitely a way that you can scale. Now, it's hard work finding the owners who are willing to do the owner financing. Again, it works best typically on the properties that may be a little bit more distressed. And so that owner is not in a position to make the repairs on the property, but they're having a really hard time selling the property kind of as is. So you also want to keep that in mind, that you're also going to need a little bit of money to make the property rentable. But the trade-off in this of not needing the credit, not needing the cash that will be required if you got a loan on the property. And so this is a way that you can continue to scale. And even while you're doing all of the other methods, if you use a traditional loan, if you use a house hacking method, any of those other methods, you can do this in addition to that. Hope you find this helpful. Have a good day, guys.